An adjuster writes an estimate for $20,000. You write an estimate for $40,000. You send it to the adjuster. Adjuster gets back to you and they say, hey, Chad, I see that we initially wrote one for 20. I reviewed your estimate that you sent for 40. I've made some changes to our estimate. I've added some things on there. I didn't add all the things that you wanted, so I didn't get it all the way up to the 40. I got mine up to about 30. So I emailed you a copy of the estimate. Take a look at it, and if you approve it, let me know, and I'll get the check out in the mail. How many times have you guys heard stuff like that before? A whole bunch of you. But you're thinking, shoot, like I already don't have enough money on this. I need the cash, and they're offering me another 10 grand. I need the 20, but 10 is better than the 20. I'm just gonna take the deal. That way they can get the payment out in the mail. I'm sorry that you've been going through that, guys. I really am. I feel terrible. I feel sad. Because you don't have to even play that game. You don't have to play that game at all. You don't have to agree to anything, and you can get them to send the check right then and there. You should never agree to settle ever with an insurance company, ever, no matter where you are in the process. Even if they are approving every last item, we don't settle ever. What I want to do instead is I want to get that money off the table now. Take it off the table. My response to that adjuster is, I'm sorry, Mr. Adjuster, I can't agree to anything. We have to run this through our estimating department. We have to vet this. We have to prepare for the job. We're moving forward with the repairs. We're planning things. We're in the planning stage right now. But I'll tell you what, I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. So that's what we're going to move forward and do at this time. And if anything comes up along the way, we'll let you know. Fair enough? Okay, great. So go ahead and send the money, send the money, send the money. Go ahead and send the money now, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Something comes up, we'll let you know. See how that works for you guys. See, we're finding ourselves getting in these arguments over an estimate. It's an estimate, guys. You have to wrap your head around this. It's just an estimate. It's a prediction of the future. That's what these things are that we're arguing about, and we're finding ourselves getting into stalemates with adjusters. It's just an estimate. You have a prediction about the future, they have a prediction. Nobody knows what it's really gonna take until we get there and we're actually swinging hammers. Then we're gonna know what it's really gonna take, and we can prove it. That's why the contractor has all the power. Get the money off the table now, now. Do not play that game with them. Don't settle for anything. This is not a settlement game. I think a lot of us had to go through that before we got that we don't even have to play that game at all. Go ahead and send the money and go over and pick up the money. Go pick it up and move forward with the repairs. At the inside of my Xactimate right here, for those of you who don't use Xactimate, that's what we're looking at. And I downloaded a simple Xactimate price list for Dallas Fort Worth. But I know I have some other questions. I haven't forgot you. I'm going to get you, but I just want to cover a couple things that we talked about before we broke. So like I talked about just looking at drywall, for example, okay? So let's look at the drywall category. We have drywall, is right here, okay? And inside the drywall category, I know it's gonna be hard to see this little box for people that are back there, but this is everything inside of the drywall category, right? So we can go through and there's just everything you can think of when it comes to drywall, right? And textures and framing and things like that, right? So what we typically will see is probably something like this item for R&R drywall. So to go back to that example of something that's completely needs to be gutted out, it's all wet or fire damage, whatever it is, smoke damage, they're only gonna assess drywall, 1/2 inch, something like this right here. And if you don't know Xactimate, this right here, the and symbol, that's remove and replace. We have remove only, let's go over here. We have remove only, which will show us how much they're charging just for the removal, 46 cents. We have replacement only, it's $3.12, right? Or remove and replace, $3.58. Or we can do material only, 65 cents, install only, labor only, $2.47, right? But again, they're just going to do R&R. Now let's go over here. We click on this image, the item image, and that'll show us what Xactimate says, Xactware that is, says that is included with that item, okay? So whenever the insurance adjuster tries to say, oh no, that's included with this item, or that's included with this, that item. Like I said, I use Xactimate, but I want to use Xactimate properly. I want to use it the way it's supposed to be used, not the way that they just come up with along the way, because they like to do that. Adjusters like to do that. So this will show you everything that's included with that one item, with the special notes and exclusions and things like that it does not include a lot of times, right? And just so you know, that description, if you ever want to take that and put it right into a line item to show them like, hey, it doesn't include that, you can just go down here and select that line item, and right click it, and go up to line item or item edit options here, and then slide over, add item info note, right? And if I go check it, it took that whole description and it put it as a footnote underneath that line item. And you could take out some of that stuff like it's not relevant or whatever. You could take it all and, you know, put it into bold or italics or underlines or whatever you want, right? So I use that a lot. Like, to me, every single line item in Xactimate that I put in there, it would be great if I could have a photo to back it up, a building code, and a footnote. That's what I'm going to try to aim for most of the time. I'm not going to have that in every item, but that's what I want. I want that documentation, that proof to get it, right? But I just want to show you item image, the top right here. That's what shows you, you click on the image, it shows you what Xactware is saying that's included. I don't really use tags a whole lot. Maybe some of you guys do. Unit price, that's what I want to show you. So unit price over here, you can see that the replacement price is $3.12 and the removal price is 46 cents, right? Now, again, remember I told you if that's water damage, we could go over into, let's remember that, 46 cents to remove it per square foot, okay? But if we go into the water remediation category, now we have a whole bunch of other items, right? So we have medicine cabinet, tear out non-salvageable tile countertop, dehumidifiers, flooring, just the whole nine yards. Tear out wet drywall, no bagging. Tear out wet drywall, bag it and clean. Tear out wet drywall, clean up, bag for disposal. That's more like it, right? $1.23 instead of 46 cents. That's a big difference. So I want to just show you that whatever they're using to do that, it's not accurate. Like it's not accurate coming out of that drywall. I also want to show you something different. So a lot of roofing projects or roofing contractors here. Okay, let's look at the roofing category for a second. Now, in roofing, well, one thing is, they don't like to pay for the removal of the pipe jacks and removal of this, removal of that. You notice in roofing, like say, all that's included with the what? Tear off. So everybody hears that. Nope, that's all included with the tear off. We don't pay for that. We don't pay for that. That's just not accurate, man. Like let's go to the laminated composition shingles roofing with felt, okay? So let's just say remove that, and let's go over and look at the item image and click on it. And what does it say? Dump fees, hauling, disposal, and labor to remove composition shingles and felt. It doesn't say anything else, guys. It doesn't say drip edge, flashing, chimney flashing, vents, drywall, siding, carpet, cabinets. Like, it just seems like they try to use that one item and throw everything in there and hope that it works, Like, I'm telling you, and they try to say contractors do that. You throw as much on it as you can, hope that it works. I mean, that's what they're doing on the other side of it. So let's just realize that and realize how to come back on that. We can actually show them that one line item, which I always just include that item. In the tear off of the shingles, I include the description of that every time. I want them to know, no, it's not included. And of course, if they even read it, they're still gonna say, nope, that's all included. We don't pay for that. You just have to go, so you have to keep going with them. I get it, I understand how they are. But I want you to see that. So, and let's look at something else, like just look at drip edge, for example, okay? Now, drip edge, R&R. Who Who here has heard of the RFG versus DMO? Couple people, right? Good. So this will be good. Like you guys already know about this probably. I'm going to show you that it's not just RFG. It's DRY. It's SDG. It's INS. SDG siding, DRY drywall, INS insulation, FRM framing, FNC finished carpentry. It's FLR, flooring. Everywhere and all throughout construction, it's wrong. It's DMO. What in the world am I even talking about to the rest of you guys, right? Let me show you. Well, let's look. We kind of already looked at it here. We looked at the unit price, okay? Let's look at this. Drip edge, just for example. Replace 286, remove 36. But look up here. Replace 286, trade RFG, roofing contractor. Remove DMO, demolition general labor contractor, because that's how you do roofs, right? I mean, you basically hire general laborers, demolition contractors to come in and remove the roof, and then you just send them on to another job, and then you bring in the roofing contractors to actually replace the roof, right? No, nobody does that. Some people do it in Florida because they have separate inspections. You have to stop work literally and to go on to other things. Some people do that there, other places, but nobody does that. You know what I mean? Like your drywallers more than, you might use a demo contractor to take out drywall. More than likely it's the drywallers, that might be different if you're gutting the whole house, but you get what I'm saying? Like it's that way for electrical, it's that way for so many different things, and that's not how it works. And so you have to first look that the default setting for this item is wrong, okay? It says DMO, 36 cents. And so we can change that. Watch this. RFG, 96 cents. 36 cents, 96 cents. Almost triple. And I find that a lot of items all the way throughout Xactimate are almost tripled. Some of them are doubled, some of them are a little bit different, right? We're talking about the removal prices. They're all wrong all the way throughout Xactimate. They're wrong. So look, I can show every item in roofing. We can do, what else do you want to do? You want to do chimney flashing? Look, it's wrong. DMO. It's wrong, guys. Every bit of it. So we already saw the drywall. We were looking at it. Half-inch drywall. Let's look. So R&R. It's wrong. DMO. Let's change it to DRY. 105. From 46 cents to 105. You see what I'm saying? So it's everything in construction. It's SDG siding. It's FRM framing. It's everything. Now, I'm going to give you a question, but I want to say first that when I first discovered this, guys, I was doing the estimating, the virtual estimating, and I was doing supplementing, all that. And I was like, look, this is insane. I'm all about footnotes and documentation, So I go and I start doing screenshots of all this and trying to, convey my logic to the insurance adjusters. I tried 20 of them. And I changed them all to all the right things, and with the descriptions like, hey, Xactimate's wrong. We're not using demolition laborers. We're using roofers. We're doing this. We're doing that. It's wrong. We changed everything manually. All 20 of them shot down. And some of them were like, you showed that? Then the adjusters that? Most of them don't even know that. And they see it and they're like, huh, I'll be danged. Yeah, we still can't pay for that. They just don't want to pay for it. So there's a way to get it bought, okay? But my experience is about 40% of the time. Changing it and having them approve it 4 out of 10 times, which is not great, but when you look at the numbers involved, you always have to do it. I always do it. I manually change all the items in every estimate. I go through the trouble knowing that only 40% of the time it's going to be bought. But to me, that's worth it, and I'm kind of just ruined. Once I learned that, I have to do that. It costs me all this extra time. And I'll show you how to do that throughout the day. But first, go ahead, buddy.
Well, I was going to ask, so whenever you present the estimate, it's not going to show the category, but so do you have to explain, or do you use line item stuff to explain? Whenever they come back and say, well, why is your removals always, your price is higher than mine? How do you present it?
Yeah, I love it. So just so you know, first off, my price is always going to be way higher than the adjusters, right? It always is, because I have way more items. So that is usually not even, it doesn't even come close, right? But I will say, maybe you can relate on this. What I found is, and I can relate because when I stopped doing the contracting and started doing just estimating like this, I have a weak spot, meaning you could go and tamper with those prices and I wouldn't notice it because I don't order materials or anything. I don't ever focus on the last price, right? The RCV. I never think about the dollar amount. I'm more looking at the scope, getting the quantity right, you know. Because I do estimates across the country, so I never focus on what one market is. Like I couldn't tell you what a roof goes for by the square in this market or any other market, right? So I just focus on the items. And what I found is that's how adjusters are. They don't usually ever see the price for some strange reason. Like I'll go through my can't think of the word, a reconciliation process with them, right? Going through the supplement. And it's like, I'll give them a bunch of wins, but they're small wins, and they never catch it. They're just thinking win, 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 you know? So I actually had never had anybody else ever come back and say that to me because it's usually so much higher anyway. So they're not narrowed down to, but like, just so you know, if I try to get State Farm to go with this, it's not gonna usually work because they're gonna revise their estimate. And they're never gonna revise it like I'm revising it. But it works usually on ESX file situations. Okay, and I'm gonna show you, like in some of my case studies, how it actually works in real life, like how it brings home. But it also works sometimes on, like Nationwide's a good one, for example. How when you submit your estimates to them, they'll a lot of times write you back an email, like marking each item with the item numbers that they have a problem with. Why do you have this? Why do you have that? You kind of go through that process with email. I prefer to with Nationwide. With the adjuster back and forth. I get them to add things and I have to take away things, right? But they ultimately want me to revise my estimate at the end. And they're just approving my estimate sort of as a line item. Like you see like bid item. A lot of times you see, even with State Farm sometimes, bid approved ABC's estimate, you know, or approved bid item as per ABC Construction's estimate for $51,000, blah, 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 right? It'll work in that regard too. But whenever they have to revise their estimate, it's very difficult to get them to do it. I gotta tell you though, I've never had an adjuster say to me like, why is our removal items so much different? Like, I see your question. I think that's an extremely sharp adjuster to have to.
Some adjusters are just looking at the price. I've had that question.
Well, if they're just, I get it. And if they are just looking at the price, it's not going to come down. It's not going to be because of these items. It's because of a whole lot of other things, right? Which is another thing too. Is people say, "Do you ever put?" I'll bring this. Hopefully, bring this in the picture this way to say. People ask me, "Do you ever put overhead and profit on just a roof only?" Well, I never do just a roof only, guys, because if a roof is damaged, there's all kinds of other damage too. And I just feel like we don't have all those items on there, right? But a couple of some other people had their hands raised. I'm sorry.
Shingle removal is the game changer.
Say what?
Doing the DMO to RFG switch on the shingle removal?
Yeah, that's what that's where I'm really starting. Yeah, good point. Let me just show you the biggest item, right? He just said the removal on the shingles is a game changer. And he's right. I mean, because look, you just do RFG 300 and then do removal, right? It's 6173. So change that to RFG, it's 150. Yeah, that's a big, huge difference, you know, but it's just, you just got to think 40%. Don't get too carried away. Don't think, oh, because I learned this, I just change it, it's going to get approved. It's not. You're going to have to fight with it. Go ahead.
I have a few adjusters that have been writing some things in Symbility.
Symbility? Yeah.
And the pricing is completely different.
Totally,
in Xactimate. Some things are higher, but most of it's lower.
It's mostly lower in Symbility. Symbility is another form of estimating software that some carriers use, and it is weak as crazy. Yeah.
I found out with Symbility, you go out and get your contractors, your subs to write up an estimate and submit them to 3 at a time, and I just push Symbility to the side of me.
Yeah, I get them to disregard Symbility too. That's my best advice with Symbility is I've found over time that they have to use my Xactimate. Like I'm going to stick with my Xactimate. And if you think about this, for all the people in the room who don't use Xactimate can probably back me up on this. They have to deal with your estimates too, don't they? They have to deal with your estimate, don't they? Like, absolutely, he said. So there's a whole school of thought out there is like, hey, screw Xactimate. We write up our estimates the way we write them up, And so there's something called the lump sum method. The lump sum method, have you ever heard of that? Like where I write up my estimate, it's a lump sum, and you got to pay it. And if you don't, I'm going to send them to appraisal, I'm going to take them to litigation, and I'm going to force them in the long run. I don't like that because I think their natural pushback is they want it broken down, line item by line item. And so whatever form of estimating you use, I think you have to do it line item by line item for the best success, but you don't have to use Xactimate. That's what I rely on with Symbility. When they use Symbility, I'll show you one of my case studies, if we get time, where I use Symbility and I got the adjuster to accept my Xactimate. In fact, I said, I see you guys use Symbility and we use Xactimate, and I have sort of the structure of an estimate, but I don't have an estimate because he asked me for an estimate. He goes, can you send me the ESX? He asked me to send him the ESX, and he doesn't even, they're not even using Xactimate. You'll see his final estimate written with Xactimate when his whole carrier company that he works for doesn't use Xactimate, they use Symbility.
The guy that I just used on this one that had Symbility, they pushed it to a third party to review,
There you go,
and
yeah.
he's using Xactimate.
Of course.
So we were able to talk apples to apples, and
That's
we got
beautiful.
exactly, where we wanted.
Like a reviewer, right? Like a third party auditor, reviewer. Yeah. Those are great. I love it when they have those. I think there's some more questions, and I did not forget you, man, before the break. I'm sorry about that. Go for it.
So why does the insurance, let's say they go with the 3 top shingles instead of the new shingles that are gonna get put on like GAF shingles? Let's say, because sometimes in the scope, it's like what was they pay for what was already on before, not what is gonna get.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what they do. That's what insurance is. They pay for what is there existing, and they have to approve. They have to pay to like kind quality kind of thing, but they have to pay for what is there or better. Now, if the codes have changed in certain areas, then which they have in certain places where 25-year 3 tabs are not allowed. But usually, if they've approved one thing, or if the existing one type, even though you may be doing an upgrade for the client, but they don't owe for that ever. So what was your question? Sorry about that too, man.
Before the break, so if I get to a customer's house and instead of me initiating the claim process, they've already done so. I get there and they're like, okay, we've already reached out to the insurance. Insurance has already paid us. This is what we have. Can you help us? How do I go moving forward dealing with insurance? Is the claims closed after the homeowner?
Yeah, great question, man. So I want to make it louder for them. I'll kind of repeat what you just asked me, and then I'll address it. So he's asking how do I do it when I first get involved? What if they already have an estimate in place from the adjuster, right? They already have an estimate, and but my price is probably going to be a little higher. Like, what do I do? Is the claim closed? How do I do it? I love that question too. Is the claim closed? Because it seems like anytime you file a supplemental request, down the road, then the first thing sometimes from the insurance company is like, well, sir, that claim's already closed. My response is, huh? They already got the check. Okay, got it. And they say, that claim is closed. It may be a couple months down the road, maybe 4 or 5 months down the road. That claim's already closed. Say, okay, great. Go ahead and open it back up. Okay? Because no claim is ever closed until all repairs have actually been made and paid for. So go for it.
Which is reopen a claim. The insurance company accept the contract from another company, but the homeowner decided to use our company. So when we went to the house, we find 2 extra layers in the house. So the homeowner called the insurance company and they reopened the claim because the claim was. Sure,
and I think anytime, if you ever run into, one second, because I don't want to get too far, I got to get this covered, but like anytime that you run into like time tolling issues, or like when they give you the first check and it says on there you have 180 days to claim the recoverable depreciation, right? That was for that estimate. What if the whole estimate changes? Okay, that was for that damage. What if damage shows up now that nobody ever saw before and the estimate changes? That whole timetable starts over again. You see what I mean? Like, I think of it in terms of like the court system, like criminal justice system. If somebody gets convicted of a crime they didn't commit, and they get life in prison or something, and they go through the appeals process, like usually all the appeals they have to go through and they go higher and higher, it's dealing with mistakes made at the trial court level, right? Just technicality type stuff. But if they exhaust all that and they don't get anywhere, then they kind of run out of appeals forever. unless one thing happens, one thing. New evidence is produced, like new evidence. Think of that. Like that's how I like to think of it in terms of insurance claims. Like whenever there's new evidence brought forth, then it's like it's new damage. Like not necessarily new, but newly discovered damage. Like we discovered damage that no one else saw before, right? But I want to come back to what you were saying too, because we talked about it a little bit before and it started to get hot, right? Where we're talking about how to deal with the process, like going out and dealing with the insurance adjuster. Like anytime that we start that process, like I'm showing up, I've already been hired, okay? So let me back up. You're asking about an estimate's already on the table, okay? So before I even go out there, I'm gonna give you 5 questions that I like to ask clients, okay? To try to qualify them a little better. And I'm gonna know that information. I will know if they have an estimate and if they have a check, like you were saying, and a check, right? I'll know that. Because when they're calling about, can I get an estimate, is usually what they're saying, then I wanna know 5 things, right? I'm assuming you're already asking them about their address and their number, and you're setting up a time to meet with them and all that, right? Maybe a brief description of their damages. If you're not, you should do that. Also ask if they have interior damages, right? But these are only damages that they know of. I can't tell, all my inspections I ever do, I find damage that people didn't even know they had. I find water spots in the master bedroom above the bed all the time. The people that wake up and there it is and they don't see it. You know, I go through with my light and I see the water. So it's such a great way to build credibility too, to establish yourself as the expert finding the water damage. But I like to ask them questions beyond that, which are, number 1, have you already notified the insurance company? Which is like a way of saying, have you already filed the claim? But I'm not asking it that way. I'm just asking a little bit differently. But have you already notified the insurance company? Yeah, we filed the claim. Or no, whatever. All right, and have they already sent someone out? That's number 2. Like, so have you already notified the insurance company and have they already sent someone out? Oh yeah, the adjuster came out, blah, blah, blah. Or no, the adjuster's coming next Tuesday. Well, then I know I need to get out there quickly before next Tuesday, get them hired, or get them signed up, contracted, so that I could be there at that adjuster appointment when they come. I know that right away, right? Okay, so have you already notified the insurance company? Have they already sent someone out? And what did they say? So I'm not saying, did they approve the claim? Or, what they did? And what did they say? Well, they said, I need a new roof. Or they said, I need new floors. Or they said, I don't have any damage. Or they said, they're just gonna give me money for a repair. Or they're just giving, I think I need a whole new roof, but they said I don't. They're just gonna give me, so you kind of know that, right? Okay, great. So have you already notified the insurance company? Have they already sent someone out? And what they say, right? And then that kind of naturally runs into, and who is your insurance company, right? I want to know who their insurance company is. And I like to, if they say State Farm, whoever they say it is, don't dog their insurance company. That's a good little piece of advice there. Like, that's like kind of saying, like you get in trouble for something, you get a DUI or something like that, you have to hire a lawyer or whatever it is. God forbid, don't do that. But I'm just saying, like, if you did, and the lawyer's like, who's your judge? And you tell them the judge, and they go, oh no, that's a bad judge. Like, that's a hanging judge, And I wouldn't want to hire that lawyer. I'd be like, oh man, like, I don't think he's going to get me very good results. So maybe that judge doesn't like him, So even though I have tons of bad things to say about State Farm, there are some good things. Like, I can get a hold of them right away, Or when they approve something, they send the payment fast, Or, well, one thing I love about State Farm is they have a process for dealing with the missing items, But I just don't, this is a little advice, don't dog their insurance. You want to give them confidence, not like discourage them. But then the 5th question is also very important, a little bit unrelated, but it's important to kind of see where they're at, which is, and when are you looking to get the project completed, right? So like, have you already notified the insurance company? Have they already sent someone out? And what they say, and who is your insurance company? And when are you looking to get the project completed? Because like, they say, well, I'm looking to do it, I'm just getting ideas right now. Probably won't do it till next spring. Okay, great, call me next spring, because I'm extremely busy, right? But I like to just kind of get that out of the way and pre-qualify them, but then get more into what it is that I can do for them, okay? Which is, I know you called me to give you a price, but I can give you a price right now over the phone without coming out and putting my hand on my tape measure. And that is, I charge the total replacement cost value. And then you have to explain to them what that is, what that means, right? But I like to convey the point. If it's a short conversation or a longer conversation, I really want to hammer home to them that Mr. and Mrs. Jones, or Mr. Jones, I've got to tell you, I've been doing this for so long, and I've seen hundreds of these insurance estimates, and I have never seen an insurance estimate that had enough money in it. So that's the first thing you have to understand. You have to bust that wide open, guys. Because again, they all think that that estimate that they've already received and that check that they've already received, they have to go and find a contractor to do the job for that amount or lower. That's what everybody thinks. Okay, so yes, maybe they might be trying to put money in their pocket, like one of these guys over here said that, in California that they were doing. Maybe they might be putting money in their pocket, trying to, right? Or maybe they just might be savvy business consumers, just like me or you, who they're just they don't know any better, and they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to make the right judgment call. They think that it's not a good idea to share the contents of their insurance estimate with you because you're just gonna, magically put the price to match theirs so that you can win the job, and that could cause problems later. And they're thinking they're doing good things, right? They're thinking that. And so I just need to bust wide open that, hey, I know you're trying to find somebody to do the work for that or less, but that's backwards, because first I've never seen an estimate that had enough money. You may not have known that part, okay? So your estimate, I don't care what it is, you don't even need to show it to me, I can tell you. It doesn't have all the line items that it's supposed to be, that are supposed to be there. And so we have a process of doing, that's the good news about State Farm, is that we have to go through the process of getting them to include these missing line items, but I find that they are usually pretty good about that if I can find those items and document and prove it to them and put it into my estimate. And by the way, I use the same estimating software that they use. So we're using the same pricing, so like when they charge for 1 linear foot of baseboard, like we use that same exact price, and they change every month, and whenever they change, we change too. So you would think that there'd be no problems, right? We charge the same as State Farm, but we do have problems because they never include the right amount of line items. So we have to first start there, okay? And so that starts with me coming and doing a comprehensive and thorough and detailed property damage inspection at your property. Okay? And how I do that is I need to inspect every room, closet, and hallway. It seems extreme, right? And it kind of is a little bit. When I come out to an inspection, I am extreme. And especially here in Dallas-Fort Worth, I know, guys, this is one of the most active areas, right, with insurance restoration, but it's also the most competitive. Anybody can be a contractor. Just come and put their name on the wall. Like, I'm a contractor now. Like the hailstorm comes, tomorrow they decide to be a contractor, and they will be a contractor. There is no, licensing required, as I hope you know. Like, it's not like, so if you're worried about it because you don't have a license, nobody else does either. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just saying, like, it is extreme. It's so difficult to set yourself apart from the competition in this market more than anywhere else, right? And so I think you have to be a little bit extreme. If it's a dishwasher leak, I don't need to inspect every room, closet, and hallway. But if it is a hailstorm or something, I need to inspect every room, closet, and hallway. And it's going to take me at least 2 hours to do. And both of them need to be there. So on that phone call, that's what I want to accomplish, to let them know kind of how long it's going to take, that I am going to need to get into every room, closet, and hallway. I'll even get into the attic if I can. I'll fly my drone on the outside. I'm going to inspect every inch of every elevation on the outside of your property. It's going to take me a little while, and we need to schedule some time for this. So you can't do as many appointments doing it this way as you once could if there's a bunch of appointments. Like, it's better to do just 2 or 3 appointments in a day rather than 8, because it'll be so much more profitable. And if you do it the way I'm telling you, your closing ratios will be so much higher, be a lot less wasted time. So I think we want, on the phone, we like to just get them to agree to the appointment without getting into any of this. And we think we can just run out there and something might develop. And we don't want to scare them off and tell them how we charge and how we do things. We'll get into that later. I like to just crash right through it right in the very beginning. Give them a little free advice on the phone, about how, like, I like to say, whether you hire me or not, let me help you. And truly try to help them. Like, so one thing is, I don't give them the free estimate that they want. I can, like as I mentioned earlier, but I give them a free property damage inspection and the results of that inspection. So all my photos, which I'll take 200 to 300 photos, which you'll see on any job, even if it is just a roof and a couple of little things, like standard stuff, like 200 to 300 photos, a lot of photos, and I'll put those into a Google Drive folder of my drone footage, everything, and I'll give them the link to that. Like that's theirs. And I think that actually is valuable. Like if they end up hiring someone else, I'm literally giving them the evidence they need, to go and get it bought. Okay. So, but to me, that's the free thing. But when I come out to any appointment with a client or with an adjuster, you think of these adjusters, how they are more like kind of high tech, and they have like, a lot of them have like these flat, it seems like they have the little flat digital cameras that they hang around their necks, not like big, huge cameras, but like, little cameras. And they have like their cougar paws, and sometimes they'll have things that latch themselves up onto the ridge, and they have little laser measuring devices. And, I had one adjuster, had like a pop-up desk that came up in the middle of the living room and started typing out his estimate right there, and little mobile printers and stuff. And so what I want to do is, I want whatever they have, I want to have way more than they ever think to have, okay? So how I show up, picture this, and consider it for yourselves, all right? I want you to picture the biggest, bulkiest tool belt that you can possibly find, with the most pouches on it, the most pockets, buckles, and like it jingles a little bit, makes noise, like it's big, and I want you to fill every pocket with as many things as you possibly can, right? Like I like to use a little mini mag light to do my ceiling inspections, so I have 1 or 2 of those, maybe 3, right? And batteries and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I want the big giant mag light too. I have one of those too. It goes through the ring on the tool belt. And so like I have that, and I have the laser measuring devices, like 2 or 3 different ones. Like, I got just backups just in case one doesn't work, right? And I have moisture detectors and infrared thermal camera, anything I can to shove in all these pockets, Like I get up and I have my drone case, and my backpack, and if it's a commercial job, I've got a hard hat, safety vest, and all that, like harnesses and stuff. But like on a residential job, I have to go up and set things down to shake hands, and I come and I have to like squeeze through doors so I'm not clanging things in doorways. Like I want you to picture that like full on, like I was parachuted in. You know what I mean? Like I landed in the backfield, and this is my gear. It's like full on special forces, Mission Impossible. This is the mission, and I just got here, like, and I'm out of breath, Like that's how I like to show up, because no other of your competition's ever going to show up like that. Oh, and the camera? So if you picture my camera guy, like my camera looks something like that. It's freaking huge, guys. It's huge, and it's around, and I use a Canon T6i Rebel. It's like 5 years old. I've been using the same thing over and over again for years. I have other cameras, but that's my favorite inspection camera. But it's real big and bulky. It's only like $400. It's not like it's not that high tech or anything. I think they're up to like T8i, but it just looks intimidating, So like for adjusters, that's how I'm showing up to adjuster appointments. So they look all high tech and everything, but when I come, they're like, who the heck is that dude? Like they think I'm crazy, and I am a little nuts, like but it's like all my toys are better than yours are, like that's kind of the idea. But it just creates that. And by the way, I'm super humble. I'm humble. I'm not like there to tell them how to do their job and tell them how it's going to go. My thing is different from that. My thing is, look, I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. Don't mind me. I'm just here to find out what it is that you're going to have me do. Don't mind me. I'm just here to find out what the instruction list is. I'm here, you write the marching orders, and I carry them out. I'm not going to get in your way. I got my camera here because I'm going to take pictures of things to find out what it is that you're going to have me do. So it creates that dynamic where they're like, whoa, we have a professional on the job now, right? And it's different from any other. And by the way, make sure they know you've been hired. You've been hired, which is going to be 100% of the time for me, because I'm not going to any adjuster appointments without getting hired. So back to, if they already have the estimate in place and they already have the claim in place, then the check is in place, fantastic. That's where we start from, because when we hire them, or when they hire us, they're hiring us to perform, as their contractor, to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the claim, which means that everything that's on that approved estimate for that amount, that's our job. That's what we have to go do, right? I'm not going to just go ahead and do that job, though. We're going to begin a supplement process. So we're going to plant our flag, if there's a dumpster that has to be brought in or whatever, job site conditions, we have to remove wet items and get certain things out of the way and debris out of the way, we'll start doing those things. If they've approved an entire roof, but the numbers aren't right, but they've approved the right number of squares and things like that, or siding, we can start to plan those things, get the materials in place. So we are, on one hand, beginning the job, but simultaneously starting the supplement process. So submitting a supplement request to the insurance company, okay, to get them to start dealing with the missing line items. Now, sometimes that may consist of sending them our estimate at that point. Usually it doesn't, though. I like to draw it out a little bit further. Giving them my estimate is something that doesn't come out until a little bit later. And that's because the estimate that I have is going to be so much farther apart from the insurance companies, like that first estimate that's already in place. When I get to writing an estimate, mine's going to be way higher than that. And it's probably because it's 4 different items. There's more damage that they didn't see, right? Almost always, when I submit that estimate to an insurance company, the very first thing they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, we're sending another adjuster. Reinspection, okay? Because it's so far apart. And whenever there's new damage that they haven't seen, it's almost like they have to send an adjuster out to do that. Not always. I have got them to approve them from the desk, but usually they're going to send another adjuster. For that reason, I don't want to show my cards yet. I want to send them a photo report. Like that's what I generally do at that point, which should show them, look, there's all kinds of missing items which you can see in these photos. There's evidence of it. There's documentation of it. I can maybe tell them what the items are, or siding related items, or fascia soffit, or whatever it is, or certain water damage on the inside in the different rooms. I can tell them what they are and tell them that the photos are in the following photo report, but you need to get another adjuster out here because they haven't applied coverage to those areas yet. I can't apply coverage. I'm a contractor. The adjuster has to do that. So I get that they're going to try to get us to do all their work. Ultimately, if we have to do an estimate, if we have to, like they're not going to send anybody out really to deal with that after trying all those different things, then I can obviously do an estimate with the caveat that this is not binding. See, this is another thing you got to realize. We're going to break for lunch. I know we are. Sorry. All right. But I want you to take this to lunch with you, is that an adjuster writes an estimate for $20,000, okay? You write an estimate on a supplement for $40,000. You send it to the adjuster, okay, to the insurance company. Adjuster gets back to you and they say, hey, Chad, I see that we initially wrote one for 20. I reviewed your estimate that you sent for 40. I've made some changes to our estimate. I've added some things on there. I didn't add all the things that you wanted, right? So I didn't get it all the way up to the 40. I got mine up to about 30, all right? So I emailed you a copy of the estimate. Take a look at it, and if you approve it, let me know, and I'll get the check out in the mail. How many times have you guys heard stuff like that before, right? A whole bunch of you, right? And so you're thinking in your mind maybe that like, okay, so they're not going to give me the full 40. They're going to give me 30, which I could take right now, which will also probably release that recoverable depreciation that I've been waiting on too. That might be a factor, which I just showed you guys. Don't need to make that a factor usually. And also if you have completed something, anything you've completed, they have to release it. But you're thinking, shoot, like I already don't have enough money on this. I need the cash, and they're offering me another 10 grand. I need the 20, but 10 is better than the 20. I'm just going to take the deal, that way they can get the payment out in the mail. I'm sorry that you've been going through that, guys. I really am. I feel terrible. I feel sad because you don't have to even play that game. You don't have to play that game at all. You don't have to agree to anything, and you can get them to send the check right then and there. So you don't have to agree to settle. You should never agree to settle ever with an insurance company, ever, no matter where you are in the process. Even if they are approving every last item, we don't settle ever. Because if anything else comes up, we can always open it back up again, over and over and over. How many rounds of supplementing do you need to do, Chad? How many times do you do? As many times as necessary, as many as it takes, okay? So what I'm gonna do instead is I wanna get that money off the table now. Take it off the table until when it's paid out, the money goes out, the claim goes out, I'm gonna go right back into them again. Like, hey, thanks so much, for getting us that extra 10 grand. We're still missing a few items. We just need to get those addressed, right? Like I'm just gonna keep going and keep going and keep going. So my response to that adjuster, and we'll go to lunch, is, I'm sorry, Mr. Adjuster, I can't agree to anything, okay? Like, we have to run this through our estimating department. We have to vet this. We have to prepare for the job. We're moving forward with the repairs. We're planning things. We're in the planning stage right now, okay? But I'll tell you what, I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you, okay? So that's what we're gonna move forward and do at this time. And if anything comes up along the way, we'll let you know. Fair enough? Okay, great. So go ahead and send the money, send the money, send the money. Go ahead and send the money now, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Something comes up, we'll let you know. See how that works for you guys. It's gonna work every single time. See, we're finding ourselves getting in these arguments over an estimate. It's an estimate, guys. You have to wrap your head around this. It's just an estimate. It's a prediction of the future. That's what these things are that we're arguing about, and we're finding ourselves getting into stalemates with adjusters. It's just an estimate. You have a prediction about the future, they have a prediction. Nobody knows what it's really gonna take until we get there and we're actually swinging hammers. Then we're gonna know what it's really gonna take, and we can prove it at that time. That's why the contractor has all the power, right? So go ahead and send the money, we're gonna get started, and we'll let you know if something comes up. That's what we do. Get the money off the table now, now. Do not play that game with them. Don't settle for anything. This is not a settlement game, right? And that's why I say, I'm really sorry you've been going through that. I think a lot of us had to go through that before we got that we don't even have to play that game at all. Go ahead and send the money and go over and pick up the money. Go pick it up and move forward with the repairs, right? The ones you can, not things that haven't been approved, but just the simple little things at the same time beginning the supplemental process, all right? So we're gonna take 1 hour break until 1:10. We'll come back and it's gonna get extremely crazy advanced after this. So be ready, not too much dessert. We'll see you at 1:10. Follow Janelle over there.